V4 न्यूज, ग्लोबल टीवी, मलनाडु टीवी, न्यूज गांव से, संवाद सारोकार न्यूज, ऑर्गन डोनेशन इंडिया फाउंडेशन एंड ज्ञान. Our endeavor is to enlighten all of you about the impact of COVID-19. Today we are going to discuss a very important
all of
point
you
about the impact of the COVID-19. But before that, I would like to bring to your notice today. Today is the Hiroshima Day. 75 years back, today on 6th August 1945, at 8:15 a.m., the United States detonated nuclear weapon over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The bombing killed approximately 140,000 people, most of whom were civilians. We pay our condolences to all those who lost their life and hope that no nuclear weapons will be used in future. Now, today's topic is COVID-19 impact on traditional crafts. Handicrafts things never go out of style. Handicraft is the traditional main sector of the crafts. It is a type of work where useful and decorative devices are made completely by hand or by using only simple tools. Usually, the term is applied to traditional means of making goods. Handicraft is very important because it represents our culture and tradition. It promotes the heritage of a country through the use of indigenous materials, and it preserves traditional knowledge and talents. A handicraft, sometimes more precisely expressed as artisanal handicraft or handmade, in any of a wide variety of types of work where useful and decorative objects are made completely by hand or by using only simple tools. It is a traditional main sector of craft and applies to a wide range of creative and design activities that are related to making things with one's hands and skills, including work with textiles, moldable and rigid materials, paper, plant, fiber, etc. One of the world's oldest handicrafts is Dokra. This is a sort of metal casting that has been used in India for over 4,000 years and is still used. In Iranian Baluchistan, women still make red ware handmade pottery with dotted ornaments, much similar to the 5,000-year-old pottery tradition of Kalpurgan on archaeological site near the village. Usually, the term is applied to traditional techniques of creating items, whether for personal use or as products, that are both practical and aesthetic. Handicrafts industries are those that produce things with hands to meet the needs of the people in their locality. Machines are not used. Handicrafts has its roots in the rural crafts, the material goods necessities of ancient civilization, and many specific crafts have been practiced for creatures for centuries, while others are modern inventions or popularizations of crafts which were originally practiced in a limited geographic area. Handicrafts are amongst the oldest tradition in the world. Among the many handicrafts around the world, Indian handicrafts items goes back to one of the oldest civilization in the world, the Indus Valley civilization. The handicrafts industry in India flourished during the medieval period and continued to grow until the beginning of British came India. After the arrival of the British and other colonial powers in India, the handicrafts industry struggled to keep up with the foreign market. As the handicrafts industry was entirely based on the skills of one's hand, it took time and hard work to complete a creation. As a result, the price of which it was to be sold was also high. But the machines made British goods were cheaper, and soon people began to drift towards the British market. Another reason for British taking over the handicrafts industry is the fact that the raw materials that were that were needed for making various items were derived from nature. and they were not meant to last for long. So the process by which the finished products were made to last longer, be time consuming and also costly. As per media reports, the impact of COVID-19 on the Indian traditional craft sector is very devastating. For months, craftspeople have been without market, sales, orders, or prospects. They lack the money to buy food for their families, let alone make payments for wages and raw material. To discuss about COVID-19 impacts on traditional craft, we have a very elite panel with us. I would like to introduce my first guest. He is Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS. Dr. Bose is one-man expert commission on labor to prepare an action plan for the welfare and development of the workforce in the context of COVID-19. He is also the principal advisor, Government of India Heritage Project. He has authored 40 books in English, Malayalam, and Hindi, including novels, short stories, and essays. 4 of his books have become bestsellers. Dr. Bose is an housing expert, innovator, writer, orator, and visionary. The path-breaking institutions set up by him, such as Nimriti Kendra Building Center, District Tourism Council, and Habitat Alliance, have been replicated at the state, national, and global level. He was the head of the prestigious Supreme Court Committee on the Treasures of Sri Padma Vaswami Temple. Dr. Bose addressed United Nations General Assembly and specialized sessions 5 times on various international issues. Dr. Bose is a recipient of 31 national and international awards, including United Nations Global Best Practice Award. He also received prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship. Kerala government termed him Lord of Ideas. Former Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh called him inspired civil servant, and our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi called him man of ideas. I welcome Dr. Bose on our show.
Thank you, Goel sir.
Dr. Bose, you are a one-man expert commission for labor, and I'm sure that you are looking after every aspect of everyone. And today, the craftsmen are also in trouble. They also comes under your purview because, after all, they are also the human being and they are also working for the nation. So we would like to know from you the COVID-19 impact on traditional crafts. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, please.
Thank you for this opportunity. First of all, I would like to underscore the importance of the day. Hiroshima Day, is it? Hiroshima stands for destruction, and the traditional craftsmen stand for creation. You have chosen the topic of creation as against destruction, which is represented in this ominous day, that is Hiroshima Day. I first of all salute those innocent people of Hiroshima who sacrificed their lives or melt down at the impact of the first atom bomb. I had the opportunity to visit Hiroshima after that from a capacity as the head of the research wing of the Department of Atomic Energy. Hiroshima represents the transition from destruction to creation. Today, Hiroshima is a beautiful city, vibrant and dynamic. That is what man can achieve. That is what nature has ordained, from destruction to creation. That brings me to the topic today. Who are the creators of India's destiny? Who are the creators of India's tradition? Who are the creators of India's culture? No doubt, those who are represented here today: the carpenter, the mason, the barbender, the potter, the goldsmith, the blacksmith. Yes, take the carpenter, for instance. A carpenter, he does not just build a house. He does not just put brick upon brick or wood upon wood and build a dwelling house. No, he creates a culture. He creates a civilization. He creates relationship. A master carpenter of the village. I remember very well, Shangundi Panikan, the master carpenter of my village. Even now, he is no more. but you adore him, you respect him. Because he built not just a house, he built relations which last for generations and generations. And number two, a carpenter, the village carpenter, the village mason, the village blacksmith, he is not just going to do a job just because he will get money. No, he has an integrity. He has an integrity to the science of building. Vastu Shastra, yes, Manishalaya Chandriya. Then so many texts are there. Maya Mada or Manava Vastu Shilpa, Shilpa Ratna. There are a lot of treatises which are sacred to them. They will never deviate from that just for the sake of money. You ask the village carpenter, build a house for me in this plot, he'll say, no. I want to see whether it follows the rules of the game which I have learned from my masters. He will not budge an inch. He first comes and divides the plot into four. The Manisha Khand, Dev Khand, Asura Khand, Agni Khand. You can build it on Manisha Khand, not on Agni Khand. He will not deviate from the science of Vastu Shastra because he cares for the people who have to live there. And even what trees to build around the house, he calculates what will be the height of the tree when it is fully blown. Even if it falls, it should not fall on the house. So there is a great science behind it, which has been passed down from generation to generation. And they build a relation. They don't build a building, they build a relation. And they have total dedication. And who? We delight about the civilization, Indus Valley civilization. Who built it up? Who built up the great edifices there? The mason, the carpenter, the Vastu Shastra. Yes, the carpenter, the mason. Who won the wars? We won many wars. We fight for dharma. Who built the weapons? The blacksmith. So they are not just workmen. They are architects. They are architects of a civilization. They are architects of a nation. They are architects of the future. Therefore, I think India has failed in realizing the importance of this great section of people who built up our civilization. I think I will not treat them just as workmen. They are masters. Yes, Michelangelo, for instance, Michelangelo was a great architect. He is responsible for one portion of the St. Peter's, but he also crafted the Pieta. He was a sculptor, he was a painter. In those days, it was like that. A master craftsman in the village is not just an expert in that craft. He was a chosen one. The village liked him, loved him, adored him. And a personal note of thanks. You mentioned about some of the awards which I received from the UN. I have dedicated it to the master carpenter of my village, Shangunni Panikan. I had no exposure to building, though later on I happened to be honored as the creator of this Nirmiti Kendra. I was watching him at work. He had a shed in my house because our new house was being built. With what dedication he and his team worked there. See, when he is on with the chisel and the hammer, the wood turns immediately into an architecture, into a sculpture. A village craftsman is a creator. He is next only to God. I think we have forgotten them. They built up the tradition, they built our culture. I think we have to have a look at that. Therefore, I do not know how to compliment the global TV, Mr. Goyal, represented by you, for choosing this topic for discussion. They have been neglected. They have been relegated. Their rights have been abrogated. It is a great occasion for us to rediscover the greatness of this tradition. I do not want to take more of your time because I know the profile of the people who are here. One, he was chairman of a commission to study the problems of these communities, these groups. And the second one, he's a Tagore Fellow, which is one of the greatest honors which a talented person can get in this country. He is a Tagore Fellow. And there is a popular leader of this community, Mr. Rajendran. So let me listen to all the three. And then, if you give me a chance, I will give my reactions to their suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bose, for giving the details. And you have mentioned about the Hiroshima, that this is a Hiroshima Day, is a restricted day, although our topic is for the creatives or the creators. But you have also mentioned that as the head of the atomic plant, you have visited the Hiroshima, and you found that even the Hiroshima has now turned to a very, very beautiful city because of the because of the craftsmen. And you said, according to you, the craftsmen, the mason, the carpenter, the blacksmith, the goldsmith, they all are like God, next to God, because they are the creators. And from the very beginning, from our civilization, they have created. Even you have mentioned, the Dr. Bose has mentioned that we have won many wars because of them, because they have manufactured, or they have created our weapons. And that's why he has given, or he has given his he has honored the carpenter of his village by dedicating his awards, which he has received so many awards. So this is a very great thing, because according to him, the craftsmen are the real persons, and we have to listen to them. We have to make sure that they should not be in a problem at all. Now I would like to go to my next panelist, next guest. He is Professor Dr. P.N. Sankaran. Dr. Sankaran is the former chairman of Vishwakarma Commission, Government of Kerala. He was born to a traditional artisan carpenter. He did his master's in economics from St. Thomas College, Pala. He obtained a law degree, LLB, from Government Law College, Thiruvananthapuram. He was awarded PhD in economics, cooperative credit in 1993 by University of Kerala. Besides MPhil and doctoral guidance, he undertook research project on traditional artisan funded by Center for Development Studies and Kerala State Planning Board. He served Kerala State Planning Board as chief of the Decentralized Planning Division. He became chair professor of rural management, St. Joseph's College of Business Administration, Bangalore. He served as professor of School of Management for Infrastructure and Development Studies, Minds, Bangalore. He served as senior advisor, consultancy and research center for symbiosis of technology, environment and management, STEM, Bangalore. He also served as a state quality monitor, MG Narega's State Mission, Kerala. He was appointed as single member commission for Vishwakarma community by Government of Kerala from 2012 to 2014. He published several articles and papers. He is a member of SRRNet UK, Social Responsibility Research Network UK. Welcome, Dr. Sankaran, on our show. Now, Dr. Sankaran, you have heard what Dr. Bose has mentioned. He has put all the craftsperson on a very high esteem. And according to him, the development of Indian culture, or India development of the country, is because of the craftsmen of the country. Now, we would like to know from you the COVID-19 impact on traditional craft. Dr. P.N. Sankaran, please.
Thank you, sir. According to a recent estimate of the Development Commissioner, Handicrafts, Ministry of Textiles, Government of India, there are 70 lakh handicraft persons in India. Who are the traditional craftsmen or craft people? They are people who are able to combine the qualities of head, heart, and hands in the production of commodities for everyday use, that is utility production, and also allied goods or decorative crafts. This classification is very important for providing support not only under COVID-19 pandemic, but also in other situations. Let me come to the social profile of the traditional artisans. They are mainly hailing from other backward classes, scheduled castes, and scheduled tribes. Recently, other individuals from different communities and religion have also joined the workforce of artisans. I want to make a sharp distinction here in terms of the hereditary transfer of their skill over generations. Dr. Bose was mentioning that. They didn't have any opportunity to attend any technical school or technical education institution. They get the quality that is skill from their father. So this skill transition is taking place, what I would like to call through the genetic of skill. And these people are making products which actually represent the diversity of the country, the continuation of civilizations one after the other. These people represent by looking at the diverse products that they produce. Historians and others can get an, a picture of the kind of civilization that the country was having over the period. I told you that they are making elite products as well as products for utilitarian use. As Dr. Bose has correctly started, they are part of the creative economy. Previously, what they produce used to be studied under the head cultural goods. Now the scenario has changed. They are part of the creative economy, creative sector, and cultural products form only a subset of the creative sector. They are creators. What? They are creators of everything. According to our tradition, Vishwakarma tradition, the whole world is created by Lord Vishwakarma. I did not go into all those details. Now, in the valuation of these products, the usual kind of valuation of a product followed by the discipline economics. Raw material value is there, and the value added by the laborers are there. The overhead charges are there. When you calculate the value of a product, raw material cost, then labor cost, overhead cost, etc. come in, and a profit margin is also included when it is placed for sale in the market. But in the case of cultural goods or the creative sector, which is enriched heavily by the traditional artisan forces, this kind of economic valuation or market valuation, market tools of valuation doesn't have much application. You have to value the product from a cultural perspective, cultural value, which will be diverse, which will be very diverse based on place, person, and also the opportunity. Now, the value of an ornament that you purchase from a jewelry shop, even though the value of the gold may be very low, you are prepared to pay a very high price for that. Why? Because of the beauty contained in that. You want to keep a piece of handicraft in your showcase. Don't look at you are not looking at the price of it. You are looking at the kind of satisfaction, aesthetic or other satisfaction that the product will give you. That is the value. The value of a book doesn't depend on the number of papers or the number of pages it is having. It depends on the artistic value. So arts and crafts are considered very important, not only nowadays, but in olden days over a period of time. India has got a very rich tradition of arts and crafts, mainly contributed by Vishwakarma artisans. They are called traditional or hereditary artisans. It is based on this kind of accumulated storehouse that India is having, or based on this traditional craftsmanship, that in 2018, United Nations, on United Nations Day of October 24 or 28, I don't know, the UN representative in New Delhi wanted to dedicate their campus in Delhi for a study called inventorying of intangible cultural heritage of India. I take this initiative by the UN as very important one in our perspective of preservation, promotion, and protection of the cultural heritage of India. We'll have to tie up with them so that whatever funds are coming, they have got, I think, very good contact with ICOMOS, the global level of heritage protection agency. So that is one aspect. Now, coming to the COVID impact, like every aspect of our life affected by COVID-19, traditional craftsmanship sector is also very much affected. Mostly it has affected people producing, craftspersons producing elite handicrafts, but because they are centered in cities and temple towns, and because of the kind of COVID stipulations, uh, block, block, etc., mobility of these artisans is very limited, and also the market. Their market depends on tourism mainly, and I need not elaborate on that. What has happened to tourism? Tourism has taken a very big beat, so they are unable to sell their product because of the impact of this one. Most of the traditional artisans operate in the unorganized sector. Therefore, whatever measures the government of India has taken under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, mainly with respect to MSMEs, doesn't have much coverage or meaning or sense to the traditional artisans because they are not organized. They don't have their own units. They work from their petty shops, petty workshops from their own house. So the package offered by Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan doesn't have much sense in the case of rehabilitating traditional artisans. Now they have been to a lot of difficulties because of LPG, that is globalization, privatization, and liberalization. According to one report, uh, I find that traditional artisans are not now true artisans in their flesh and blood. They are virtual artisans. Big industries are producing parts of handicrafts products and joining it and selling in the market. Previously, artisans used to finish a complete product and take pride in that. Now that is not the case. These products are now being produced under division of labor from economics. Parts are produced in different parts of the world, joined together by a big company and sold in the market, sometimes in the name of a reputed handicraftsman. That is also there. Since this copyright or such kind of international arrangements for protection of the skill doesn't have much application in the case of the traditional artisan sector. They are now continuing as virtual artisans and not true artisans. I would like to say that COVID-19 has put further further fuel into the fire. The fire, I think, is LPG, the fuel because of this COVID. So it is like the situation of the traditional artisan today in the COVID context is comparable to putting fuel on fire which is already there.
Putting fuel on the fire, says Dr. Sankaran. He has given all the details, and he says that there are about 70 lakhs people who are working as a craftsman, and he has mentioned that the craftsman has done lots of things, but the problem they are facing is not only with the COVID-19 but earlier also. He has also mentioned that the prices of any jewelry or any and artifact is because the people wants to purchase or keep those things because of the design which a craftsman used to do. But he has also mentioned that now the time has changed. The big companies, big corporates, they are asking the craftsmen to prepare some parts here, some parts there, other, and they are assembling it and selling on their own brand. And that because of the copyright thing, that that's not applicable to the small artisans. He has also mentioned that the government of India's scheme of Atmanirbhar, which is they have come out for the MSMEs, the 20 lakhs in that 20 lakhs stimulus, but the advantage of that is not reaching to the craftsmen because they are under unorganized sector. And he has also mentioned because mainly the craftsmen are in the traditional temple towns, which are totally closed nowadays because of the ban on the tourism. So he has put his views about what are the difficulties or the impact of COVID-19 on traditional crafts. Now I would like to go to my next guest. He is Dr. V.P. Raghavan. Dr. Raghavan is the Tagore National Fellow, Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, Ministry of Culture, Government of India at Bangalore. He was campus director of Kannur University, Kasargod. He was visiting professor, Southern Federal University, Rostov-on-Don, Russia. He has published 10 books and research papers. Welcome, Dr. Raghavan, to our show. Dr. Raghavan, you have heard what Dr. Bose and Dr. Sankran has mentioned. According to Dr. Bose, the craftsmen are the real creatures. They are like next to God. Because of them, the countries have been built up. And that's why Dr. Bose has dedicated his awards to his own carpenter who has done the work at his home. And Dr. Sankran has mentioned about the impact of COVID-19 and about the difficulties the craftsmen are going through. According to him, because they are under unorganized sector, they are not getting the benefits which the government of India has declared under the Atmanirbhar scheme. And as well as the problem which now the craftsmen are facing about the corporate sector entry, where they are asking the craftsmen to prepare in pieces, and then they are assembling it and selling as their own brand. So the recognition of the craftsman has gone, as well as he is not getting that much copyright on that. Now we would like to know from you the COVID-19 impact on traditional craft. Dr. V.P. Raghavan, please.
Coronavirus pandemic is unprecedented in human history. It has had the disastrous consequences on the lives and livelihoods of the people all the world over. In India, the impact of COVID-19 outbreak causes greater problems to the every segment of the people, society, and the economy. When I am looking at the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the traditional crafts in India, I am focusing on the traditional craftspeople of India, namely the Vishwakarmas, with a special reference to the creative economy of Kerala and India. Vishwakarmas are the traditional craftspeople of India. They are the conglomerate of 5 sub-occupational groupings, namely the blacksmiths or the ironsmiths, the carpenters or the woodworkers, the coppersmiths or the braziers, sculptors and the stonesmen, as well as the goldsmiths or the jewelry workers. These 5 distinct occupational categories of artisans are called Vishwakarmas. The Indian mythology of which is narrated that Vishwakarmas were the heirs of Lord Vishwakarma, the Hindu pantheon, who seemed to be the divine architect in the universe. The smithy, carpentry, and the masonry are the hallmarks of the Vishwakarma craftsmanship. Theirs are the hereditary craftsmanship for the artist, the knowledge and skills of which have been transacted from generation to generation since the distant past. According to oral history and other historical narratives, The Vishwakarmas were leading a prosperous life under the patronage of royal kingdoms and kings in India. They have particularly considered Vishwakarma's lives and livelihood. It was the attainment of political independence of India, after which the destiny of the Vishwakarma artisans began to dwindle. They are now becoming to the level of ordinary workers. Ananda Bhusar has categorically stated that Vishwakarmas are not the workers, they are the builders. They are the makers of the world, John Brewer categorically asserted. And since they are the makers of the world, they are having the occupational nobility. And this occupational nobility has been fading away, and the social identity has been lost due to the occupational dispensation of modernizing societies in the realm of Vishwakarma's workmanship. Now the sociography, they are the creative class rather than the occupational caste. They are the class, not the caste. This creative class is the term coined by Richard Florida, the American economist. He was the person who coined the term creative class. Now, in India, these community peoples are under the occupational caste. They are not in the caste. Generally, they were not in the caste categorization under the traditional sociological stratification of Varna system, where Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras were categorized. They were nowhere in the caste stratification. They are the creative people. They are the intelligent people. Dr. Stabadi in Chennai has categorically informed me that Vishwakarmas are the science people. They are the knowledge people, not the knowledge workers. Now, in the wake of the ongoing globalization, their identities are lost. Now, after the outbreak of COVID-19, their situations are pathetic. Their lives and livelihoods are comparatively poor. So, being a creative class is having an important aspect in the creative economy, as Dr. Shankaran has categorically stated. So, for the development of creative people, the Vishwakarmas, government has hardly done any what is called developmental programs. So they were having no training avenues. So we have to start the training college. Sir, only one college in India teaching the traditional architecture, that is in Mahabalipuram. On the lines of this Mahabalipuram College of Engineering, that is traditional College of Traditional Architecture, we have to start a series of colleges teaching Vastu Shastras, Shilpa Shastras, as Bosar already has categorically stated. And we have to open the training avenues for the Vishwakarmas. So the government to impart training in traditional sciences. So in modern syllabus of the university studies under the engineering faculty, they are not teaching any scientific aspects of Vastu Shastras. Then astronomical sciences was well developed during the early period of the time. That also to be nowhere here in the modern academic realm. So, in the international perspective, Vishwakarmas are producing so many what is called traditional products, creative products, cultural products. So marketing opportunities are ample. For example, we are having the artistic marvels or magnificence of craftsmanship. Example, Armula Kannadi or Armula metal mirror, then Adakaputtur metal mirror in Palakkad district, then Payyannur Pavitra Modiram, the divine ring, bell metal casting in Kunnimangalam of Kannur, Manar metal cast city, then wood carving crafts in Peruvanam in Thrissur, then Onavillu, the twin bow in Thiruvananthapuram, then the idol makers in Swamimala in Tamil Nadu. All these are the creative products which will have greater impact on providing lives and livelihoods of these downtrodden people. They are the heritage people. They are producing the cultural heritage producers. I used to like the term cultural heritage producers. Then after that, we have to their skill-oriented work is to be promulgated or it is to be promoted. The cultural heritage, intangible cultural heritage. Shankaran sir has already stated that. Vishwakarma craftsmanship, I am underlining that Vishwakarma craftsmanship are the foundations of the creative economy of India. They are the foundations. So creative economy is an emerging economy in every parts of the world. But in India, it has not been considered. I mean, the political class and administrative wing are not giving much importance to the development of creative economy. So much so that we have to make a new dent on creating the creative economy of India by making use of the cross expertise of the Vishwakarma community. They are the indigenous knowledge of people and they laid a foundation. Their history dates back to Indus Valley civilization and Harappa civilization. The metal casting which has been done in Indus Valley civilization is still being used by the modern engineers and architects in India.
Okay,
So,
thank you,
Vishwakarma
thank you, Dr. Raghavan, for giving the details about the Vishwakarma community. And he has mentioned that earlier, when the kings were there, the Vishwakarma community was in a very comfortable position because kings used to respect their work. But once the political scenario has changed, now they are not getting any type of importance. Rather, they are being treated like a ordinary workers, which is very unfortunate. He has also mentioned that the Vishwakarmas were not being classified in any of the caste like Brahman, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Shudra. They were not classified because they were the creators, and that's why Vishwakarmas were a separate class altogether to create the country, to create the generations. But unfortunately, because of the unavoidable or the avoidable conditions, the governments have not given any importance to them, and that's why they are facing a lots of hardship nowadays. And he has mentioned that even whatsoever has been done in the country or the world, it was because of the Vishwakarmas, because of their heritage, because of their heredity, they have learned and they have developed the country. Now I would like to go to my next guest. He is Mr. V. Rajendran. Mr. Rajendran is the patron of Vishwakarma Samandaya Kotayama, Kerala, traditional artisan community of India. He is the former national secretary of Rashtriya Raja Kamchari Mahasangh. He belongs to the traditional goldsmith community and he himself is a goldsmith. He is a renowned social worker and RTI activist. Welcome, Mr. V. Rajendran on our show. Please unmute yourself. Mr. V. Rajendran, you have heard what Dr. Bose, Dr. Sankaran, as well as Mr. Dr. VP Raghavan has mentioned. Now, they have mentioned about the problems, about the status of the Vishwakarma community. According to all of them, the Vishwakarma community is next to the God. They are the creators. But they have also mentioned that they are not getting what is supposed to be given to them, the respect, the money, many things. So now we would like to know the COVID-19 impact on traditional craft. Mr. V. Rajendran, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for inviting me to the conversation along with the distinguished personalities of Dr. Sri C.V. Anand Bose sir, Shankaran sir, and Dr. Raghavan sir. I thank you very much. This discussion is conducting on the day of Hiroshima. I belongs to the Vishwakarma community. God Vishwakarma, he is not an artisan. We always praying before him as Om Sri Virad Vishwakarmeshaya Nama. It is our mantra. Vishwakarma are the whole makers of this universe, not only in India, but we consider that Vishwakarma community is the creators of the whole universe. In Indus Valley civilization, we know Sir John Marshall has excavated in 1922. Then he found there 3-story building, a developed city. So many things have excavated from there. He, in his writings, I noted that he told our the roads of Indus Valley were automatically cleaned by wind. That is the reason is that the Vishwakarmas are the creators of the civilization, Indus Valley civilization, also the Mesopotamian civilization, and other world civilizations are founded by the Vishwakarmas. That the reason is that the Mayan civilization in Mexico is similar to our civilization. Most respected Anand Bose sir was once the director of the Delhi National Museum. There we see the relics of the Indus Valley. It gives us most informative details of that civilization. In the entrance of the Indus Valley city, the residents were goldsmiths. Residents people are goldsmiths. The goldsmiths are considered, goldsmith and other community people are considered the 4 disciples, Manu, Maya, Toshta, Shilpi, and Vishwajna, 5 disciples of God Vishwakarma. God Vishwakarma, his position is above the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. He created the Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, the main gods of Hindu mythology, according to the Hindu mythology. But sometimes, I think some historians or early writers ignored Vishwakarma culture. They only represented Vishwakarma as merely a god of thousands among one. But he is not merely a god. He is the created or Virat Purusha. In so many Vedic texts, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvaveda, and the ancient history of Mahabharata, ancient texts Mahabharata and Ramayana, the history of Vishwakarmas are noted there. The Rama Setu was founded by Vishwakarmas for escaping Rama's wife from Sri Lanka, Dwaraka for Sri Krishna, Indraprastha for the Pandavas, Lanka for Ravana. This type of great works were done by the Vishwakarmas. According to Chaturvarnya, you have mentioned about Chaturvarnya. Chaturvarnya, I think it is not a caste distinction. It is not caste distinction. According to Max Muller, he defined the Chaturvarnya as the 4 orders of the society were created by me according to their inborn qualities and opposing corresponding duties. The Chaturvarnya is another thing. Its representation is not merely on caste basis. It's a great principle. According to inborn qualities, we have the Vishwakarma community people having the inborn quality of engineering, architectural skills in their genes and blood. That is why we are making the great construction of the building of the universally accepted constructions, in Angkor Wat, Cambodia, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, Tanjavur Brihadeeswara Temple, Ajanta Ellora Caves, Konark Temple. So many marvelous architectural buildings are made by the Vishwakarma community. Yesterday, the pujan of the Rama Janmabhoomi was conducted by the Prime Minister. Along with him, the Shilpi from Vishwakarma community, along with the wife, has participated in that important session of the Bhumi Pujan of Rama Janmabhoomi. The Patel statue was built by a Vishwakarma. Great personalities were born in Vishwakarma communities. In Kanyakumari, the Vivekananda Rock Memorial, the statue of Vivekananda was built by Vishwakarma architecture. This type of inborn qualities are having inborn qualities in the genes of Vishwakarma. But the problem is that the governments, during this democratic time, or the government is neglecting the Vishwakarma community. We are facing utter negligence from the part of the governments in all times. The reason is that due to the entry of the globalization of the entry of the corporates, we lost our jobs. In gold, especially in gold sector, I know the details. 5 or 6 large-scale corporators were in the field of gold business. They are conducting huge quantities of business. Lakhs of crores rupees they are making as profits. The governments are, once I noted that the corporate tax was introduced to safeguard the interest of the jobless craftsmen. There is, I think, this crores of funds from the custody of the government. But the craftsmen are still in a poverty stage. They have no houses. They have no funds to meet the education of their children. They have no better living standard. All these type of living standards are made by the rulers of this country. In Kerala, especially in Kerala, all the politics is divided into caste-based. 2 communities and 2 religions are only considered. Due to that reason, we are not getting any importance on the part of government. Recently, the Padmanabha Swami temple, the Supreme Court has issued a verdict in that case, and the Supreme Court directed to constitute a 8-member committee. I want the government or the rulers of the Travancore, when you are constituting a committee of the temple administration, you please include a Vishwakarma man to that community. The reason is that the Vishwakarma Shilpis or our forefathers were built that marvelous temple, and the ornaments, diamond and gold jewelry of that temple. This is same thing in Tirupati Tirumala Devasthanam. And all other temples in this nation is giving crores of temples and marvelous monuments, give this nation crores of rupees from foreign people. They are visiting there. But why the government do not giving any safeguard or protection to these people, the artisan people? We are utter negligent. We are facing utter negligence from everybody. Recently, after the COVID-19 situation, the Prime Minister had introduced 20 lakh rupees fund for the surviving people. But the attitude of the bank authorities is not good. They never accept any application from the poor people. So how to manage this problem? The problem is that our government is spending crores of rupees in the field of Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Program. It is a wasting of funds. This is a true fact. The government is wasting fact. India is an agriculture country. 70% of our country is depending on agriculture sector. Why our education system is converted to agri-based? Our technology is to be implemented in that field, modern technology to introduce in that field. They are not interested in this. This program, they are cleaning the roadside and destroying all the medicinal plants nearby places. That is the work they are doing. If the government employing these people to the paddy fields or other places of sector of agriculture, they will get employment, and if our government, our nation will progress, gradually we will progress. I heard that in Japan, each and every house is a small scale industry unit. In Israel, like that. In Switzerland, so many places of the world, each houses are the place of making articles, electronic items such as other items. In India, why the government do not considering the Vishwakarma peoples, the inborn quality, they're having the inborn quality of technologies in their blood. Why the government do not consider these people? My suggestion is that the government should constitute a Vishwakarma Commission.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Rajendran. For the suggestions, we will come up afterwards to you.
Okay.
Thank you for giving your details about the Vishwakarma community. And according to Mr. Rajendran, the Vishwakarma committee, the Vishwakarma God was the God who has created the entire universe. According to him, even the three gods of Hindi mythology, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, were also created by Lord God Vishwakarma. And he has also mentioned that all those things which are mentioned in the Indian or Hindu mythology, whether it is Lanka, whether it is the Hastinapur, or whether those Pandavas place where they hide, everything was created. Even the Krishna's Dwarka was constructed by the Vishwakarmas. All the monuments, and he has even mentioned about the yesterday thing, that yesterday the Ram Janamabhoomi Shilanyas, the building which is going to be constructed, are going to be done by the Vishwakarmas, and along with our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, the Shilpi of that temple and his wife were present in the ceremony. But they are not getting the recognition, and as far as the funds are concerned. According to him, the government of India has come out with the stimulus package of 20 lakh crores, but the banks which were supposed to give the helping hand to the small people, they are not at all helping them. The red tapeism are there. They are not accepting their applications. And according to him, the government should take a proactive role to help this community which has created the country. Not only the country, according to him, the entire world was created by the Vishwakarmas. Thank you very much, Mr. Rajendran, for giving your details. Now I would like to ask Dr. Bose. Dr. Bose, do you think government should proactively market the crafts product globally? Because what has happened because of the COVID-19, the demand has gone down, purchasers are not there, and that has affected the craftsmen very badly. Now, if the government will take up the issue, although the government's handicrafts emporiums are there all over India as well as outside also, but do you think government should take the proactive step by subsidizing the rates which they are procuring from them, so that the market will purchase their products and ultimately it will benefit them? Dr. Anand Bose, please.
It was certainly a treat for me to listen to the analysis and the suggestions given by the three eminent panelists. The issue has been stated with clarity and analyzed with a lot of insight. As a one-man commission of the Government of India, this has been a great input for my report, and many of the viewpoints and of course the suggestions which are going to come will get reflected in the report in an adequate measure. That much I can assure you now. Now, when we come to the various aspects that were discussed here, see, what exactly is it that distinguishes the work of the Vishwakarmas from that of an ordinary professional servant, civil servant like me, or a CEO of a corporate, or the engineers or the doctors? Because here it is creativity. The knowledge stems from creativity. This is traditional knowledge. This is knowledge, generic knowledge, which is passed down from generation to generation. That is, it's not acquired from any university. No university will be able to give so much of codified learning, which remains in this uncodified sector, because there's a touch of authenticity about this knowledge. Now, according to me, this knowledge should be treated as India's priceless heritage. First, an action plan should be launched to codify this knowledge from whoever is there. See, even oral history, somebody mentioned about oral history, Rajendran, yes. Oral history is one of the best sources for this. See, there are some veterans even now. I know, Payanur Keshavajari, then Kadanur Rakhavajari. I remember these two names because you may remember, for the first time after hundreds of years, a state award was instituted for the Vishwakarmas. The Vishwakarma Award. In my own humble way, I was responsible for instituting it. Every year, we'll find out a person, a guru, or a master who has excelled in this field of traditional knowledge and creative economy. We will honor him. And this used to be done by the Chief Minister himself because it's a state award. I don't know whether it continues here now. Then, here some mention was made by Mr. Raghavan about training institution. See, a training institution was created under the aegis of the Nirmiti Kendra, that the Vastuvidya Gurukul, in which all these master craftsmen, master carpenters, they were holding classes. And then to tie it up with the modern architecture, efforts were done to call the traditional architects, traditional craftsmen, traditional master, carpenters and others, interact with the modern architects. Then we found that a lot of great wisdom is there. That is not old wisdom. Traditional wisdom is old, but traditional wisdom is not obsolete. India needs it. India needs to bring it back. Therefore, I would say, as Mr. Raghavan said, yes, training institutions should be there. Skill development institutions should be there. Why not? Why not a knowledge university? Bring back the best of knowledge that has gone. See, now, look at the engineering. Look at the architecture. Behind the great temples and palaces, there is no cement and steel. There is no concrete. Now we are told that we can build edifices only if Western technology is there, if cement and steel is there. No. Look at Padmanabha Swami temple. There is no steel or cement, and Mother Meenakshi temple. All this was built by the traditional knowledge passed down from generation to generation. We should not allow the traditional knowledge to be lost. I think there is still good scope, like another Nalanda, which will identify, nurture, preserve and propagate the traditional knowledge represented by the Vishwakarmas to the whole world. I think government should look after that, think about that. And secondly, who are these people? Nobody knows them. They have been totally neglected. Why not have a common registry for those who are experts in this field? Give them UID, unique identity card, and treat them as professionals. See, when you have a doctor, an engineer, an advocate, we say doctor so-and-so, engineer so-and-so, advocate, architect. Give them a professional status. Let them not wither away. Let them not wither away as unknown people. They should be identified. They should be respected. And then A master craftsman may not be an MA. He may not be a PhD. But a master craftsman has got a PhD from the University of Life, experience, tradition. Why not engage them as official instructors in the skill development centers? Don't they deserve it? Can you have it only if you have a university degree? How the great knowledge which they have proved? So I think this has given me a lot of new insights. I thank you very much for that. And now, to cut a long story short, yes, we should have, their health, their basic minimum wage. See, they should not starve. See, for instance, COVID, where is the opportunity for them? Many of them are starving. So government should think of giving them a basic minimum income. A basic minimum income through direct transfer to their bank account. It is their right. We owe it to them because they built up. Then another thing, aren't we spending crores and crores of rupees to protect the old monuments? They are part of our tradition. Old monuments, monuments in stone we protect. This is living monument. Traditional knowledge is living monument. That is part of our culture. If India is what it is because it was built up by these people. Their tradition, their craft is part of our culture. So don't measure it by means of profit and loss. Measure it as a part and parcel of India's heritage. This is living monuments. Protect them. If you are spending money to protect the dead monuments, I am also in charge of the heritage, heritage project where we protect the monuments in Red Fort, Ajanta Ellora, Khajuraho, yes, protected. But who built behind it? That knowledge which built it is also part of the tradition. That is dynamic monument. Please protect that. Number 3, bank loan. Yes, I have been dealing with so many people. MSME is there, but MSME is so defined that these individuals who are working in this field from their home, they don't come under that. I think a redefinition of MSME is required so that these traditional artisans are also able to get bank loan schemes. And now, when we come to, yes, there is a suggestion to have a separate commission for this. That, of course, is something which government has to decide. Now, putting across all the suggestions that are given here by Dr. Shankaran, Mr. Raghavan, and Rajendra, and also what I have received from others who are working in this sector, I would like to say government should launch a massive mission called Back to the Basics, where all this gamut of traditional industry, traditional knowledge will be brought together. It should be done in a mission mode with sufficient funds in the budget. I think this discussion here, I am sure, the journey of 1,000 miles will begin with the first step. I think if it's a journey of 1,000 miles, I think I congratulate the Global TV and Mr. Goyal. This discussion is the first step towards the journey of 1,000 miles. I think a lot of new things will come out from here. I, from my humble position, will certainly see that most of the sentiments expressed here will be included in the recommendations or report which I submit to government. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bose. Thank you very much. Although you have congratulated the Global TV and me, but no, I think we must congratulate the entire Vishwakarma community, as you have also mentioned, and it is obvious that because of them, we are here. And you have mentioned very clearly that there should be a knowledge university, because they are the people who have knowledge and they should impart their knowledge to the next generation. They need not to be a PhD or a MA, but their own knowledge, traditional knowledge, is more than enough to give the knowledge to others. And you have also mentioned that when you are in the Kerala state and a very top position, you have started the Vishwakarma Award, which was given every year in the Kerala government. Now you are not sure whether it is given or not, but that is really a motivational thing. And I am sure that now when you are with the central government, there should be an award from the central government for the Vishwakarmas, so that at least that recognition should be there. And you have also mentioned the hardship which Vishwakarmas are facing about the loans. And you say that for that, they should come redefine the definition of MSME. So you are giving so many things and you are including all their suggestions which will be given today or which are already been given in your report. I'm sure this is a very, very, we must thank you that, okay, we have organized this program, but if you are taking the care of this, this program is very fruitful and our endeavor is successful. Now I would like to go to our next panelist. He is Dr. Sankran. Dr. Sankran, Dr. Bose has mentioned about the knowledge university. Now, you are already a doctorate, you have done this thing, you have so much, you are such a learned fellow. Now, we want to know from you that if this knowledgeable university will be there, do you think the next generation, which is a next generation of Vishwakarma, the young generation or the youths, would like to join this university, take this knowledge and go ahead with the tradition? Because one of the panelists says that they are being treated as a normal ordinary worker. They are not treated as a creator. So even if they will take the knowledge of the this artisan and all the handicrafts thing, will they be able to sustain themselves in the society? They will get the respect, or they will be again treated as a normal worker? Dr. Sankran, please.
First of all, I will take up the point from Dr. Bose's presentation regarding suggestions. Now, he was mentioning about the knowledge-centered university that would make the situation a little bit better, of strengthening the foundation of traditional knowledge, in which definitely Vishwakarma community with their store of traditional knowledge and wisdom are very much required. Now, all the people might have heard about Ganapati Stavati, Chennai. He passed away. But when during his last moments, he was telling a Hindu reporter from his bed in the hospital that if a Vishwakarma university takes shape, I shall hand over all my records. He is having a number of very big institutions in Chennai. One example, Vastu Vedic Research Foundation, International Institute of Myonic Sciences, etc. All the stock of books, collections, etc. he will transform to the university if a Vishwakarma university or a university of traditional science and technology comes in. That is one point. Why don't we get in touch with the family of Ganapati Stavati in Chennai? Number two, in the wake of the Sri Padmanabha Swami Temple treasure trove in 2011, there was a number of proposals from learned academicians, social activists, etc. If the treasure trove is unearthed from the troves of the Sri Padmanabha Swami Temple and exhibited, the revenue from the exhibition and also the revenue from things that are sold out, why don't that be created into an international university? There was such a proposal. And my one point that I would like to make is that the entire trove has been bequeathed by traditional Vishwakarma goldsmiths. All these products donated to Lord Padmanabha, Sri Padmanabha, which was kept without any damage by the Travancore royal family. So the producers of this vast stock of treasure of the temple, they have got a claim for using that for a purpose like creating a university for carrying on the studies on Indian wisdom, traditional knowledge, including Vishwakarma Stavati's knowledge. That is one suggestion. Second suggestion is that there was a proposal by the Planning Commission in 2005, known as IMG report. It's a very big expansion. IMG 2005, Planning Commission. It is a report made by the Planning Commission, proposing a separate ministry for artisan affairs. The rationale was that, looking at the situation, the committee found that the schemes and projects of artisans are spread across 22 ministries and departments. If all these departmentally allocated projects and schemes are brought under one ministry, that will definitely do a better thing. So artisans are now looking at our own social activism was like staging a dharna in Jantar Mantar twice. Last year also we staged a dharna for creating this separate ministry for artisan affairs as an umbrella organization which will take care of most of the requirements. Number two, regarding COVID solutions, solutions to COVID impacted artisans. There is a scheme called Artisan Credit Card Scheme. It is not very popular. I request to enhance the limit. Previously, it was 2 lakhs. It's a card like Artisan Credit Card. The Kisan Credit Card. Recently, the government elaborated that Kisan Credit Card to include fishermen also. Why don't we claim for an expansion of the limit of the artisan credit card scheme so that the artisans are benefited? Now, CSR funds. Now, there is a particular item like that, promotion of art, culture, heritage, and handicrafts. Under about 10 items listed in the projects that corporates can undertake under the mandatory CSR project of 2% of their profit. I demand that there should be a dedicated portion of the CSR fund for protecting the life and livelihood and culture and heritage of the artisans. That is one. Then waiving of loans, etc. Now, reservation of public procurement and also contracts for these people. Small organizations contract kind of institution, they are floating, they should be given a priority in government procurement and also small government contracts. That will help them a lot. Now, there is need for an integrated policy for the creative sector as it is available in China, Brazil, and UK. Now, imports from China are coming down so that there will be greater scope for our artisans to promote their craft because there is a blockage of imports from China. So these are the important suggestions that I have to make. Number one, I repeat, a separate ministry as proposed by IMG 2005 Planning Commission. Secondly, enhancing the limit of the artisan credit card scheme and also reserving public procurement and contracts for the kind of small enterprises floated by traditional Vishwakarma or other artisans. A dedicated portion of the CSR fund should be earmarked for them. Need for an integrated policy as it is available in China, Brazil, and UK. I would like to thank the organizers of this program for giving me an opportunity and also highlighting the problems of Vishwakarma community. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Shankaran, for highlighting, and you are giving the suggestions to the government. Dr. Bose has raised you want to say something, Dr. Bose?
I just wanted to say something complimentary to what Dr. Shankaran said here.
Yeah.
It's only now that I know that Ganapathy Sabadi is no more. I pay my respects to him and may his soul rest in peace. Now, Ganapathy Sabadi, I had gone and met him many, many times. I had invited him to Nirmati many, many times. And his Gokulam, Nirmati Gurukulam is a result of what Ganapathy Sabadi asked me at that time. He said, can there be an institution which gives support to this? All that I could do at that time was to create an institution in my own purview, because as you know, going to government with a university and all will take its own time. So instead of cursing the darkness, it is better to light a candle. That is a candle that was lit there. All the masters in the field used to be invited there as our honored guest. They would stay there. They would interact with the new generation of architects and the youngsters. A lot of bright ideas came there. I am so happy, even at that time, Ganapathy Sabadi had a lot of ideas in his mind of how to retain the traditional knowledge, to identify, nurture, promote, and propagate. I think this idea of a new university which has come up here, I'm very happy that Ganapathy Sabadi is associated with that, And all these awards and all were instituted as part of that. In fact, I think we should all together take up the idea of a university. And from my humble capability, I will certainly highlight this as one of the recommendations in the report. And secondly, I also happen to be associated with the Sri Padmanabha Swami temple, which you mentioned here. I was heading the first committee appointed by the Supreme Court of India. One thing which I tell you, in compliment your great grandfathers, those master craftsmen, they created the wooden chest in which these precious things were kept for centuries. When it was opened for the first time, by some mistake, they removed the wooden cages and transferred into what we Malayalam call trunk petties, purchased from Chale. These wooden chests, they had retained the microclimate which is required for these things, antiques. Microclimate is so important. All conservationists will know. You keep a thing for 100 years in one place, suddenly you change its climate, means its microclimate is disturbed, which is the worst that can happen to a treasure. That was happened there. But look at the foresightedness of their great grandfathers. It is not because they could have even kept it in golden boxes, but they found certain type of wood alone can preserve it. Great knowledge is embedded in that. Of course, Rajendra made some other suggestions based on that. That I'm not taking it into now. Now, Ministry for Artisans Affairs. Now, there is a Ministry for Fisheries. Earlier it was thought, okay, we have an agriculture ministry. Animal husbandry was also part of that. Then animal husbandry became a separate ministry. Then fisheries was a part of that. Now, when it is highlighted that it requires a separate treatment, a new ministry has been created. So I think there is enough cause for a Ministry for Artisan Affairs. And if Mr. Goyal would permit me, I would say instead of a separate, there should be a separate ministry. Yes. That separate ministry will be more effective if it is directly under the Prime Minister. Even now we have a minister in the Prime Minister's office, but that is for other general things. There is a minister in the Prime Minister's office dealing with atomic energy, because atomic energy is always dealt with by the Prime Minister. Since the Prime Minister cannot attend to the details, Mr. Prithviraj Chauhan, who later became CM of Maharashtra, he was there when I was working atomic energy. So there is a case for a separate ministry for artisan affairs, preferably attached to the Prime Minister's office. Then only it will become effective. I don't want to comment on the other things. These two things, Tapati and Sri Padmanabha Swami temple, since it was directly related to me as an individual, I thought I will intervene now. Sorry for intervention. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Dr. Bose, for your very good intervention, because you have assured our panelist, our guest, Dr. Shankaran, that he will take up the matters, especially 2-3 matters. One is about the university, which he says, yes, it is a very good thing. And secondly, he has also mentioned about the Sri Padmanabha, our temple, the treasures of that. And he has mentioned very clearly one more thing, which is very interesting for this generation to know, the youths, that how those so expensive ornaments were kept in a wooden box. Today, nobody think about that. Today, people will always go for a locker made of very strong steel, so that it cannot be broken and whatnot. But the foresightedness scene of the four great grandfathers of the Vishwakarmas today, they know that the climate will be changed, and this is going to last for several decades or the centuries. And for that, they have preferred the wooden thing. And according to Dr. Bose, when it was opened, now they have changed this thing, but it was the original thing which were done in the wooden thing. And thirdly, which he has also mentioned about the separate ministry, he says definitely it is a very good idea, but it is only advantageful is preferably if it will be attached directly to under the Honorable Prime Minister. Now, I would like to go to our next guest. He's Dr. VP Raghavan. Dr. Raghavan, you have heard what Dr. Bose, Dr. Shankaran has mentioned. Now, again, the one more particular thing which Dr. Shankaran has mentioned is that now that China is out, and because the China is facing lots of problem, why not? This is an opportunity, even this COVID time, where the artisans, where the Vishwakarmas take it. But it is only possible if e-marketing, because right now, you know, due to the lockdown, these many shops are closed. People are not coming to the market. They are not purchasing. They prefer to go for the marketing or the e-purchasing. Don't you think that now this is the right time for the Vishwakarma community to sell their products with a on a platform which is a e-marketing platform, so that it will reach to the public at large and take the advantage, because of the China's market is not doing well and they should not do well because what they have done, everybody knows. Dr. VP Raghavan, please.
Absolutely, sir. It is a good suggestion, and your suggestion is more important. And I have had in my mind that also in the international perspective, this COVID-19 gives a new opportunity for expanding the international market. 2 months back, I was in Netherlands to attend a program presenting a paper on Vishwakarma community artistry. And all the academicians and academics and the experts advised me that you can do this type of marketability. And as a matter of fact, regarding the development model that I have to have in my mind is that formerly in the past in Darkshastra, there was a there was a development model based on Sreni, means guilds, GUILDS in modern company system. And on the basis of that Arthashastra perspective, I think we can organize under the government sponsorship that pilot system can be reintroduced under the what is called this Vishwakarma artistry, a formation should be there, and a cluster model should be there. Where Vishwakarma, I would like to call this Vishwakarma production system as Vishwakarma economy rather. And as Dr. Shankaran has categorically advised, suggested to both of that as new separate ministry is to be there. And under that ministry, I would like to suggest that the Center of Creative Livelihoods rather than Sustainable Livelihoods. Center of Creative Livelihoods to be started under the government of India. Then the second point I have to raise that in Kerala there are Devasam boards, the administrative wing of the temples. But in no Devasam board, these Vishwakarma people are becoming the members or the representatives. And whenever there is a what is called a renovation program, traditional craftsmen are not invited. And just like in Tamil Nadu, in every Tamil Nadu there is a chief Stabadi. Dr. Dakshinamurthy Stabadi is the chief Stabadi at present in Chennai. And under him, so he is equivalent to chief secretary, I think. And just like that, in Devasam board, in every Devasam board, there must be a chief Stabadi or chief architect, which under whom they can make a renovation project. Then regarding the economical aspect of this Vishwakarma artistry is that there is no class division, as I had already made. No workers, no owners. These workers are synced with owners. Therefore, there is no inequality. This is not an inequality, but this is for a formal system of capitalism, means individual capitalism, I would like to call this individual capitalism with entrepreneurial probabilities and possibilities. And this again in the in our academic, I mean in this political system, we have had the nominated system. This Anglo-Indians are having the nominated MPs, and just like that, why not we have to nominate one Vishwakarma community person to the legislative bodies, just like a parliament or legislative assembly. And these are the more important, then it is an inclusive economy, rather. It is an inclusive economy, and where inclusive economy means every aspect. So, sir, the Vishwakarma community is the only community in the entire world that 5 segments are to be separated distinctively, and they are conglomerated under the one banner, Vishwakarma. So in no other world, in no other country, this type of what is called articulations are available. So this we have to. Then finally, I have to conclude with this 3 important matters I have discussed. That is internationalization of marketing, then the Sreni system of development, then the starting of a national center for creative livelihoods under the ministry, under the what is called envisaging Ministry of Artisans Affairs. And these are all my suggestions.
Thank you, Dr. Raghavan, for giving very, very, very valuable suggestions. And I'm sure that Dr. Bose is writing all your suggestions, and definitely these suggestions will reach to the government, and very soon we will have some results of this. Now, I would like to ask my last panelist, is Mr. Rajendran. Mr. Rajendran, please unmute yourself. Do you think the stimulus package has helped the craftsmen, although you have mentioned that there are lots of red tapes, but what are your suggestions? What type of stimulus package should be given so that the craftsmen, the artisans will be benefited? Although Dr. Bose has mentioned one thing, that there should be a direct transfer for the funds, but that is only for the livelihood, for just to keep this thing. But I am asking you for the future, what type of package you want or you expect from the government of India, so that the craftsmen will be able to sell their products with dignity in the world. Mr. Rajendran, please. And you can also give your suggestions whatsoever. Yes, Mr. Rajendran.
Sir, first of all, I have disagreement about the statement of our most respected Dr. Raghavan sir. He told here that in India, 70 lakhs artisans in India. I does not believe this. So that I think it is 90 crores Vishwakarma community people in this country. But the most people are.
Mr. Rajendran, can you repeat the figure? You are saying 90 crore or 9 crores?
19 crores. 19.
19. Okay.
19.
Okay.
Most people are artisans. Then here I have a book from our National Museum. Our respected Ananda Bose sir knows this book. In this book, the cities of the civilization were noted for their urban planning, baked brick houses, elaborate drainage systems, water supply systems, and clusters of large non-residential buildings, standardized weight and measure. They were also known for their developed techniques in handicraft, carnelian products, seal carving, and metallurgy, that is copper, bronze, lead, gold, silver, and tin. The Bronze Age civilization of Indus Valley is flourished 3rd millennium BC. This book represents that not only Indus Valley, in this civilization flourished in the river bank of Saraswati also. But here we discuss the detailed matters. At last, I am arguing for a Ministry of Heritage and Traditional Affairs, especially for the Vishwakarmas. Not only the traditional affairs, it is especially for the Vishwakarmas. Some practical difficulties for define Vishwakarma separately. Then my suggestion is that we have represented to the UNESCO for approval of this community as a heritage community. That is my important suggestion. Then after that, Ananda Bose sir told me last week that he is ready to stand with our community for the upliftment. I welcome his attitude. So I asked the government to appoint a full Vishwakarma commission with the experts and the members from this community to inquire the details of the Vishwakarma people in this nation, to give their for the upliftment of this community. It is better. I think it is Sri Ananda Bose sir is the apt person to head the chair that commission. I suggest his name. He is the apt person and he knows everything about the Vishwakarma communities. And Dr. Raghavan sir, he has submitted a commission report of 2,500 pages to the Kerala government during the Ummanchandi government. And the Ummanchandi government and the Pinarayi Vijayan government has never opened that report till date. I think it is stolen from the office of the chief secretary. That is a problem Vishwakarma is facing. So recently, the Kerala government, in Travancore Devasam Board, the government appointed government given reservation to Irava community 17%, Nair community 10%, Vishwakarma community 3%. What is the criteria behind this? I do not understand what is the criteria behind this. Vishwakarmas are making the ideal of the temple, building temple. All works are doing by the Vishwakarma people. But we are, why the authorities neglecting us from this type of reservation? We are facing severe problems, but we have no representation, only 3% in Devasam board. There is no Vishwakarma member or Vishwakarma president in Tiruvidampur Devasam board or Malabar or Cochin Devasam board. In other states also, in Tirupati, Tirumala Devasana, other such temples having no Vishwakarma representation. What is the reason for this? I advise the government to appoint Vishwakarma, traditional Vishwakarma community artisans to these type of temple bodies. That's a in Rama Janmabhoomi problem. Sorry, no, Rama Janmabhoomi temple mandir authority. I advise them to appoint a Vishwakarma man to the trust of the Rama Janmabhoomi mandir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rajendran, for giving such a valuable advices. And you have said that first thing about the ministry, which already our earlier panelists have discussed. Even Dr. Bose has mentioned that he will also recommend. Secondly, you have said, which is very important, you said there should be a commission to be appointed, which will go and inquire about the status of the Vishwakarmas and give the recommendations, how it can be uplifted, their lifestyle and all those things. Now this also he definitely, and you have also asked, you have requested Dr. Bose to head it. That is a very good thing, and I'm sure that. But the problem is that Dr. Bose is having so many things in his hand. I don't know if he will be representing every board a commission has a head. Then I think 7 days will be less for us to call him for our media conference, because right now we are also taking we are so obliged of him that he is giving once a week, sometimes many times twice a week, his services or his advices on our media conference. And you have thirdly, which is very also important, which you say is that all the temples or the Devasthans, when they were created by the Vishwakarmas, why there is not a single representation of the Vishwakarmas in their trust, including the Ram Janmabhoomi Temple Trust, which you have asked. So I am sure that this thing will definitely a good suggestion, which Dr. Bose, if he will recommend, which I am sure he will recommend, may also materialize soon. Now, Dr. Bose, in the last, you have heard everyone, you have heard their suggestions. Anything you want to say, the last word?
See, I'm reminded of what somebody asked Michelangelo. Michelangelo was asked, how do you create the figure of a Pegasus, that is a winged horse, in a piece of marble? He said, it's simple. You retain the Pegasus there, chisel of the rest. This is what a master carpenter does. He can, like the sculptor, can see the sculpture within the marble. The Vishwakarma, he can see the structure behind the wood. I think it is that vision. See, the vision should be combined with action. What I find in the traditional knowledge of Vishwakarmas is there is always a vision behind it. And secondly, there is commitment, tremendous degree of commitment. The commitment to the work, you know, a Vishwakarma, I was told when I was studying this along with Ganapati Stapati and others, there was a rich man in Kerala who asked the Perintachan, that is a master craftsman, can you build an Padinaru Kettu for us, which is one of the biggest palatial buildings, which means name, fame, and money for the carpenter? He said no. Why? This rich man was trying to impose his views on traditional knowledge. He said, I have to study the nature of the wind in a place before I decide on that. Your money cannot buy my knowledge. You know, it is as great as when Ptolemy, the great geometrician, was asked by, Ptolemy the king, asked Euclid, the geometrician, what is the easiest way to learn geometry? He said, there is no royal road to geometry. That is a commitment which the Vishwakarmas had for their traditional knowledge. That is why, you know, have you ever seen, he builds a house for generations and generations for their prosperity. His mind is there. And one more thing, you know, before the Vishwakarma cuts a tree to build a house, in the Vriksha Ayurveda, there is a prayer. And the scholars like Shankaran and Raghavan, and of course, Rajendran can correct me. The prayer is a prayer to the tree. All the creatures living in this, even the microorganisms, please shift to another place. May I have your permission to cut this tree to build a house for me and my progeny. See, look at the commitment. See, they are dedicated to nature. And a Vishwakarma, before he builds a house, for him, a house is not an escape from nature, but an escape into nature. When we speak about sustainable development, sustainable knowledge, the underscoring principle of this traditional knowledge is sustainability, nature friendliness. Hats off to the Vishwakarmas, hats off to their great grandfathers who kept this tradition of knowledge without diluting it for the sake of commercial interest. And that is the take home which I have from this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bose, for giving the details. And you said very clearly that the Vishwakarmas, the knowledge which they have, they are not ready to compromise for any commercial reasons unless they are not satisfied themselves. And you have given the example that if you want to construct a home, if there is a tree, they first pray and ask all those micro organisms or anyone who is there living and this thing to go somewhere else so that they can construct. So according to you, the Vishwakarmas are the real knowledgeable person. Today you have seen how the traditional craft, those who are the craftsmen, the artisans, their pains, their challenges, they are the persons who have built us, who are the creators, not the destroyers like the Hiroshima. But today they are in a bad shape because of all of us, whether it's a government or even the civil society. We would like to purchase those things which are cheap. We do not want to see the artistic value of a handmade artifact, which is really going to give the pleasure and the happiness to us, as well as it will also give the livelihood to the craftsman, the artisan. So we have to be very, very clear when we are going to buy anything. I remember one incident I would like to, because to conclude before the conclusion, when the former Prime Minister Morarji Desai, he came to Mathura for some election work. Then I met him and I asked him, because he was having a habit that he never gives an autograph who is not wearing the khadi. And so somebody came and he wanted an autograph. He said, okay, show me your handkerchief. And the handkerchief was not, because that fellow purposely wear the khadi. And then he said, no, I will not give. I was standing beside him. I asked, why? I said, I am wearing a shirt manufactured by Binni, which is an Indian company, and everything is Indian. Earlier it was fine when the Britishers were ruling, they were manufacturing and they were. He said one thing, and which is very, very important for me in my life. He says, Mr. Goel, if you have to spend 100 rupees and that 100 rupees goes to one person, or if you are spending 100 rupees, it is going to 100 persons, where you would like to spend? I said, definitely if it is going to 100%, well, that is the work of khadi, and that is the work of the handcraft, handloom or handcraft or the craftsman. So we are also responsible for their condition, whether the COVID is there or no COVID. We must take a decision that we must go to handicrafts shops, try to purchase those things which have been done artistically by them. This program today's, which is live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring all the experts, the impact of the COVID on them. And tomorrow, again, the media conference with Lal Goel at 11 a.m., COVID-19 impact on banquet sales of luxury hotels. So please tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m. Thank you very much, Dr. Anand Bose. Thank you, Dr. Sankran. Thank you, Dr. Raghavan. And thank you, Mr. Rajendran, for giving the inputs and very, very valuable suggestions. I am sure that it's an eye-opener for all our viewers and many who are in the power or not in power. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.